Assalamualaikum viewers. Today we are discussing how New Zealand has beaten the COVID-19 and has managed to survive in her best possible way in this eve of pandemic, where the world powers has collapsed in their to manage the health crisis, and regimes are facing serious threats from their internal and actually this COVID-19 has exposed a lot of people and a lot of regimes who claim to be the global power in the world. Where today we have joined by Muhammad Wakar Anwar. He's a PhD candidate at Massey University, New Zealand, in Defense and Strategic Studies. Defense and Security Studies. How are you, Wakar?
Yeah,
Thank you
I'm
for
good, and yeah, enjoying the
thank you
winter.
for joining us.
Yeah,
Thank you for joining us.
thank you,
Today,
thank you.
let me be candid with you. How
Mm,
Jacinda Ardern, the most inspiring prime minister of the age, has
yeah,
managed to counter this problem. How you see her personality played a role in this all? Because when we look up, they were super fast in lockdown process. They were
mm,
super fast in containment strategy, and they were super fast also in the eliminating strategy when the world was thinking to implement
yeah,
to just assess it, and New Zealand was moved
yeah,
on eliminating the strategy and their tech testing tracking uh, in all this process. How Jacinda Ardern's personality and her ability to deliver information to the public, and her ability to communicate with his people played a role.
mm, yeah. So yeah, so thank you for the answer, for the question, and I really appreciate the. It's a very good question, and it's a great question. So I will respond. My first response will be that New Zealand is the first country in the world, probably, which has eliminated this pandemic quite successfully. And yes, you are right that Jacinda's role in this crisis management was a quite an exemplary and a charismatic role. And yes, Jacinda has played her role quite effectively because here people see that even in the last year, although it's not relevant, but it's still relevant. Like in the last year, there was a big incident at the Christchurch mosque. So at that time, she also played her, very good role in binding the communities and eliminating the discord. And similarly, the very next year in 2020, this crisis came, and yes, yeah, her role was quite exemplary in formulating the policy, and he was quite successful in bringing all together all the stakeholders within the government, within the business, because New Zealand is basically primarily it's mostly focuses on its economy runs through the business, the tourism, the travel industry, the huge livestock industry. So yes, she played a very charismatic role, and even in the international publications like the National Geographic and the Atlantic Council, they all have published, praiseworthy pieces of her due role in this crisis. So yeah, Jacinda's role is quite exemplary, and probably if New Zealand had another leader instead of Jacinda, I don't think that this huge success would be possible. So at the international stage as well as the domestic stage, at both levels, she played a very good role. Yeah.
Oh, thank you. Uh, just moving towards our next question, how New Zealand managed to transfer its containment strategy into an eliminating strategy of COVID-19, because it is very difficult because
Yeah.
the global powers has
Yeah.
not be able to understand it properly. Because if you see America,
Yeah.
it is going through its worst. Italy faced enormous
Yes.
deaths in terms of managing the crisis. Even the European
Yes.
countries are still in the panic. They are in stress to
Yeah.
how to counter it. But how does New Zealand
Mm.
manage this so quickly, How does this happen? Just give us a sense, and for
Yeah.
me and for our audience, that how does this happen so quickly?
Yeah, so yeah, this is also another great question. So yeah, basically there are a number of different factors which resulted in the control of this pandemic and this disease. So I will mention by one. So first of all, that New Zealand is a very small country. It has a very small population, only 4.9 million people. And secondly, it's quite isolated from the rest of the world. Like if you see Europe, mainland Europe, or the North America or South America, they are all, one country is bordering another country, and one country has, most of the time, one country has border with a number of other countries. You can see the example of Italy, you can see the example of France. So there were the most worst cases over there. But the New Zealand has a natural advantage that, like, it's quite apart from the world. And even Jacinda has, in like linking it to the previous question, that Jacinda has also admitted that New Zealand's geographic location and its small population, these were very effective in controlling this disease. So yes, so now coming to the main point, that how it controlled. So yeah, it was a very although uh, a tough decision, but the government and the Jacinda was brave enough to take it. So they introduced a system of, you can say, an alert level system. So there are four different alert levels in New Zealand according to the spread of the disease. The first, the high risk level is level 4, then is level 3, level 2, and level 1. So when the crisis erupted, and on the 25th of March, I think New Zealand closed its borders and all the international flights were halted. And as of now, they are still halted. So the boundaries are closed totally. So no inbound flights and no outbound flights, although some services have started operating now, but they are only for the elimination of the citizens of New Zealand, or the countries which have signed the agreement. So yeah, so coming to the level, so the level 1 was to completely eliminate, level 4, sorry, was to eliminate the disease completely. So it was the most, can say, the harshest level. So they formulated bubbles. So it's like if you are staying in a flat, or if you are staying in a house, you are living with your brother, your sister, your mother, your wife. So now that was called a bubble. So in that case, you have to stick with your bubble. You can't intermingle with other people. So that was the most, you can say, the strict control in order to contain the spread of the virus. And secondly, only the essential services, like the grocery stores, the pharmacies, hospitals, petrol stations, these are open only. All the other public offices, like the universities, the colleges, schools, all of them were closed. So this continued for about 2 and 3 weeks, until the cases started to decline. So 146 cases in late March, and which remained to just a few cases a day in the mid-April. So, and the total recorded cases were 1,476, and 19 deaths were recorded. But now you can see 15 days have passed, but there has been no single case. And then the level 4 came to level 3, and that was a little bit less strict than level 4. And now currently New Zealand is at the level 2. So in this level we can move around, and like the citizens can move around, and but still, if you like, I am sitting in a university. So even if I come to the university, I have to fill a form, a proper online form, that what time I came to the university, what time I will exit the university. So they get a documentation of every exit
Every moment of a
and
person.
yeah. So the whole data is, they formulate it in a database. So that's why, and the government's very good at making the record of every person's case. So they have the address of every person, and the text number, and his location. So that's why they had a very good control over this. So these are not
So,
these are some of the steps. Yeah.
if I may ask you, how people are responsive to the SOPs that New Zealand government has announced to to be followed by the people. How you see the people's response towards the government's initiatives? Are they happy? Because if you say in the counterpart, let's take the example of America. They claim that it is a free country and we
Yes.
have the right to move, and you can't lock down us, and blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
Because it is, uh, they said, they do call it that it is a hunt to their liberty and their right to freedom and their right to movement.
Yeah.
What are the sentiments and what is the reaction of the New Zealand's
Yeah.
population, is the people, how they have taken
Yeah.
these initiatives of the government?
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, this is another great question. There is a common saying in New Zealand that the Kiwis are not as wild as the Australians or the Americans. So in that sense, you can say the Kiwis are more decent in their attitude, and they are more, you can say, obedient to the orders of the government. Although there were some, sporadic cases where there were some violations. Even the minister of transport, there was a minister of the government, a very high level, and he was just going on a bicycle on here, like 2 kilometers away to a beach. So somebody saw and took his picture and sent to the prime minister. So the prime minister abruptly took action, and the minister had to resign. So so even the top bureaucracy and the common people, all of them obeyed the orders. And the good thing was that although everything was closed, the hospitals, the school, the universities, the colleges, but the good thing was that the prime minister kept appearing on her Facebook page. So they have a face the Labour Party has a Facebook page, and they give their regular, press briefings every day. So it was the director of health and the prime minister, both of them came together, and at 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, there was a set time, and every day they updated. So nobody felt that he was alone or she was alone, because it was so much connected. The social media, the social connection was very much there. So even some of the government officials said that it's not the social distancing we are practicing. We are socially connected, but physical distancing. So it
Yes,
was not
we are maintaining, we
like
have
a
to,
harsh. Yeah,
yeah, if we have to deal with it, we have to maintain a certain physical distance and certain
yeah,
precautions, like wearing masks and avoiding touching our mouth, face, and nose. It's
yeah,
very hard for our Pakistanis, as you are a Pakistani, I am a too, and we know, okay, for Pakistanis it is quite hard to not to touch their face and touch their eyes and nose, because there is a psyche of Pakistanis. They are very
yeah,
open people, and so
yes,
if I coming to my next question, and Jacinda's leadership played a very effective role in countering
yes,
this pandemic. How you
yes,
see her personality, her excellent initiatives that people are
yes,
admiring all over the globe, uh, could be the lesson for other countries. And I would ask
yes,
you, if what Pakistan, if you could recommend some recommendations
yeah,
to Pakistani, what
yeah,
Pakistan should learn from New Zealand, and this
yeah.
all.
So yeah, so yeah, this is another great question. So yeah, Jacinda's role is quite evident. We have already discussed, yeah, and her state and her role at the international level as well, and
Because
like
if I
she
may,
denounced.
if I may
Yeah,
add a bit question, that her leadership has been admired as a symbol of glory and symbol of success all over the world. The scholars are quoting her initiative. Her smiling face has played a very good role in disseminating the information, and people are listening to her face, because when she speaks, people listens. These are the factors. But how you think Pakistan and Pakistan's Prime Minister Imran Khan must learn,
yes,
our Pakistani people must learn from New Zealand's as an example,
yeah,
as a symbol of
yeah.
prosperity?
So this is a good question. So yes, for answering this question, I will just quote some facts and figures so that to put the facts straight. So yeah, So if somebody thinks that New Zealand's economy won't suffer, this is not the case. So according to an article in the National Geographic, New Zealand economy will take like 4 years to recover. So although they are suffering from the from the lockdown and the closure of the boundaries, but still they can take the health risk. So although Pakistan's economy is not that much strong, I must say, but still it has the potential to control this disease through maintaining strict measures. So the government should take action. It should not, communicate to the people that the lockdown is over and you can go outside and have the parties. They should maintain. If they cannot maintain a full lockdown, they should maintain at the least a partial lockdown so that the people can freely intermingle with each other. And even if it is not good for the economy, but still, the health is the first priority of any government. So they should keep the list in order, like what comes at the first number and what comes at the second number. So is it either the economy which they want to strengthen, or is it the health of the people? So, and the second thing is that they should, I think this should be more at a community level, that the poor people which cannot earn money due to this lockdown, as it was in the case in the just a couple of weeks ago. So there should be some community groups like NGOs, and even the government can help in, helping these people, so that this is not a hurdle in the lockdown. Rather, it's, favoring the lockdown. So I think the government should take some smart steps, and but because if you generally speak, there is no comparison between New Zealand and Pakistan, because New Zealand's population is quite small and Pakistan's is 21 million. So, but still they can take some cues from this policy of the New Zealand. Yes.
Yes,
Hanji. Okay.
thank you. Coming
Yes.
back to our last question, if I may ask, as a
Yes.
student of defense and security studies, how
Yeah.
you see the changing definition of national security is playing
Yeah.
a role in actually stopping our national leaders in Pakistan to implement SOPs and to implement the lockdown, because as our economics is weak,
Yeah.
and we mostly the people think that we cannot survive if we impose lockdown on people, because people will die with hunger. How you see that, and what could be your advice in this regard to Pakistani government?
Yes, so I think the Pakistani security paradigm is shifting from in the last couple of years. If you see from the era of Musharraf, then Zardari Nawaz Sharif, and in the current Prime Minister of Imran Khan. So the paradigm is shifting from, national security to human security kind of thing. So yeah, there is a increased understanding at the government level and in the corridors of power, that human security is the most important element. So this crisis has shown us that not even in Pakistan but all over the world, that if you invest more money in weapons or nuclear weapons or mass destruction, or the army or the military, all the a number of scholars are talking on this, like in the United States, they invested a lot of money in their, building their nuclear arsenal. But when it came to the health crisis, they couldn't do anything. So same is the case with Pakistan. So if they invest more in their health systems, so probably that would not be the case anymore. So yeah, there's a significant, a tectonic shift in the terminologies, like security and culture and human security. So I think that there is an understanding, and I think, I hope the best, that in Pakistan in the coming years they will focus more on this aspect, and put the path straight
Thank you,
towards the
thank you,
safety and
Waqar.
security. Yeah.
Thank you for this
Thank you.
giving us a very thoughtful
Thank you very
information.
much.
Very thoughtful information. It was very useful for us, that
Thank you.
How New Zealand has done this tremendous job, and the
Yes.
appreciation is all for Jessica Anderson. And I hope Pakistan
Yeah.
will be able to develop a strategy to counter this pandemic. And thank you for your time. Allah Hafiz.
Thank you. Thank you. My pleasure. Thank you. Allah Hafiz.
Pakistan Zindabad. See you next time, audience.
Pakistan Zindabad.